Right, so welcome to an edition of what I'm going to call lifting and yapping. Lifting and yapping, that's what we're going to say. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I have roughly an hour to get this video recorded and get a squat and bench session in before I head to another coaching session. It's just the way my day's working out. But I thought no better time than to take you guys through an in-depth squat tutorial for you to get the most out of your back squats in the long run. Because I think a lot of people kind of look at squats as just put the bar in the back, go up and down, and that's it. And while that isn't technically wrong, there are a few more moving parts or a few more components to a squat that are important to understand for you to get the most out of them. So why not go through a video explaining all that? And then at the end of the video, we'll see what I can get to for a heavy single. I think that'll be a bit of fun as well. So yeah, let's get into it. Before we hop under the bar, there are two things we're going to want to make sure we understand before we start loading up our squat. The first thing is going to be spine position, okay? A lot of people, a big problem with their squat is the position of their spine to start, their torso. They will start with this very extended position. When I say extended, I mean spinal extension, where it's like sort of extended this way, nice tall chest, hips kicked back, or your pelvis is tilted forward. What's happening now is your ribs and your pelvis aren't stacked over one another. So my ribs are pointed up this way, my pelvis is pointed this way. This isn't a position for my spine that it's best for handling load. My spine won't be able to handle load all that well because it's not stacked over one another. It's not in a strong position. So what we want to think about doing is bringing our ribs down. So instead of my ribs being pointed this way, my pelvis being pointed this way, I'm going to bring my ribs down, pelvis up, bring them together where they're stacked over one another. So now they're both parallel to one another. So if I'm up like this, ribs are pointed this way, pelvis is pointed here. Just going to bring them down, do a bit of a crunch. In the words of Sebastian Oreb, think about, imagine you're trying to piss up a wall. So yeah, I know, crude, but it works. So yeah, ribs down, tilt the pelvis back, and stack them over one another. So you're in a bit of a crunched, but more neutral, stacked position. That is step one for your squat, is make sure you have that down. Because if you're squatting like this, or that, where you're not stacked, you're not going to be half as strong as you would be, or as you could be. The other thing we need to know is that when you squat, I said this in the last video, your hips and knees, they need to bend together at the same time. It's not going to be hips first and then knees, which is very common, or a lot of beginners who are afraid to lean forward, they'll go knees first and then their hips. Your hips and knees bend together for you to get the most out of your squat and to stay balanced over midfoot. Okay? So again, what we're going to think about doing is hips and knees together. They bend at the same time, at the same rate, and you'll just have a much smoother squat. Yeah, we get those two things down, we can hop in under the bar. Right, we are at the bar. So taking the things we've learned already, we understand where our spine needs to be and how our squat needs to look in terms of our hips and knees bending together. So let's talk about how to set up with the bar, and then we're going to get into putting it all together. So first rule of thumb when we're grabbing the bar, this is one thing I see a lot, is make sure your hands are an equal distance from the center. All right, there's no point having one hand here and having one hand here, because if you do that, it doesn't matter what else you do with your squat, it's going to do something like that or that, you know. So make sure from the center, both hands are equal distance. The other thing then is to grab the bar with as close a grip as you can manage, while still getting it into position, as close as your shoulder mobility allows. So for me, the closest I can get, and I've figured this out through just experimentation, is about just less than a thumb's length away from that line on the knurling here. So I can go about a thumb length or just under a thumb length from there. What we're going to do from there then is we have two options of where to place the bar. There's high bar, which sits up around your traps, just under the base of your neck, not on the base of your neck, just under it on your traps, or else low bar, which sits more so around your rear delts or the back of your shoulders on that shelf. Now, for this example, I'm going to squat how I've been squatting for the last 6 months, which is low bar, but the same rules apply to both options. So we're going to grab the bar, squeeze the shit out of it so our hands don't move anywhere, and we're going to step straight through underneath, in between the two, and we're going to place the bar in the position we want, whether it's high bar up here or low bar back down here. That is essentially getting in under the bar and getting your grip width. The next thing is we want to make sure we create a bit of a shelf, okay? So there's no point having your arms loose. We need to make sure that everything in our upper back is as tight as fucking possible. Generally, your squat won't fail because of your legs. 90% of the time, it's not because of your legs. If I hop anyone on a leg press, they will rep out their squat 1 rep max. Well, maybe not rep it out, but they'll rep it out for a few anyway, at least. They'll at least be able to do a lot easier than a squat. But generally, it's a failing of your upper back and your core, okay? So with the upper back especially, we want to create a shelf. So we want to think about pulling our elbows and shoulder blades back as much as we can, and that close grip on the bar is also going to help with that tight upper back position. Okay, if we're out super wide as well, it's not going to get this area in our upper back nice and tight. So close grip, which helps first, but then also is driving our elbows back, squeezing our shoulders together, gets our traps, our shoulders very tight, but also creates a shelf. So get our grip, step in underneath, place it here, and before I unrack, elbows back, shoulder blades back and down. And that's going to get us in a nice solid position. And again, what I'm going to do is going to get my core and get my spine into a nice stacked position. So bring the hips forward, ribs down slightly. I'm going to breathe in and stand the bar up. And I'm almost ready to squat. Now, one thing, foot position, when you're unracking, have your feet together. So a lot of people unrack like so, and yeah, that's fine, but when you walk it out, it's quite hard to balance because you've so much distance between each foot. When one foot comes off, you've no base of support on one of the sides. So feet together, much easier to walk it out. From here, once we walk it out, we're going to get our stance just outside hip width with our toes pointed out slightly is a good starting position, but it varies from person to person. Now, once we are here, we are going to put it all together. So upper back is nice and tight, so elbows are driven back, shoulders down. We're going to take a breath in and brace. I have an Instagram video teaching how to brace, but we're basically going to fill up our stomach full of air and push it out, and then we're going to pull our ribs down at the same time. So we're going to look something like this. See what I mean? So breathe into the stomach and brace. Once we do that, then we're going to perform the squat. Once again, hips and knees bend together. That is essentially the squat. So I'm going to summarize it. First thing is spine position. Make sure your ribs and pelvis are stacked over one another. And when you squat, hips and knees bend together. In terms of setting up with the bar, as close a grip as your shoulder mobility allows. And you want to either put the bar on your traps for high bar or on your rear delts for low bar. You can go mid bar, which is somewhere in between, but I'm not going to get into that because that can be anywhere in between. Once you do that, once you have the bar set on your shoulders, it's about having your elbows and shoulders driven back to get your upper back as tight as possible, but also kind of secures the bar in place. Unrack with your feet together. Take a small step out, not super far, it just takes 1 or 2 steps, and then get your stance. In terms of stance, just outside hip width where your toes are pointed out, and then you're going to brace. And again, I have a tutorial on bracing on my Instagram. Go check it out, like it, share it, whatever. But essentially, filling this area up with air, pushing it out to make it as tight, like a tire full of air. So it's, and then crunch into it. So again, go into that stacked core position that I talked about at the start. And then you squat, hips and knees together, back up. I think that concludes the squat tutorial. A good way to learn these is to do tempo work. So again, slow squats. Don't bounce around with them. Don't do them fast. Honestly, to learn the most from an exercise is to do it fucking slow. If you do everything fast, you can't identify where the smaller problems might be, whether it's your upper back, whether it's your stance, whether it's your hips and knees are not bending at the same time, whether it's your spine. Do it slow and you'll identify problems sooner. So if anything, like regardless of what I taught you in terms of how to do the squat in the more detailed form there, do it slow and you'll be more likely to figure out what's going wrong. That goes for every exercise. Do things slowly. I promise you, you will probably find what's going wrong in an exercise, in a movement. All right? But anyway, let's see what we can get to for a heavy single. So I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to warm up all up to what I think I'm going to get. And then you're going to watch me hit a heavy single because that's cool. I just thought of this while I was warming up. Oh, boom, look, 180 on the bar. I just thought of this while I was warming up. When you're unracking the bar, you don't need to take it for a fucking walk across the gym. 1 or 2 small steps away from the rack, get your stance, that's it. It's all too common where people will unrack it and then they'll take like 6 or 7 steps back to the other side of the fucking room, or like 6 feet away from the gym, or 6 feet away from the gym, 6 feet away from the rack. There's no need for that. 2 small steps, get your stance, that's it. You'll be a lot safer because at least you're a lot closer to the rack, probably close to the safety pins, which you should have up if you're squatting, or at least if you're a beginner while squatting, or at least have a spotter. But yeah, 1 or 2 small steps. You don't need to take it for a fucking walk. Okay. All right, so we have 200 on the bar. That is last week's top set. So ideally we're going to go heavier than this, but the squats are feeling a little bit crunchy. Might be because it's 6 o'clock in the morning, or it's 20 to 7 now, 25 to 7, but my point still stands. This is not an ideal squatting time, but we got to do what we got to do. So whatever. Let's see how 200 moves. I know I can do it. Hopefully it's just not too grindy. Let's go through all the steps, shall we? Close grip on the rear delts, feet underneath together, nice and close. To stack the ribs and pelvis. 1 or 2 small steps out. Oh, let's go. Oh my God. Whew. Holy shit, that felt heavy. Right, so I'm going against my better judgment and I'm gonna add 5 kilos to the bar. I can't morally or just physically finish this session on the same weight I hit last week. So we're gonna hit 205 for a single. I know I can do it. Yeah, we're just gonna get this done, and I'm gonna get some tunes going just so I can lock in a little bit more, because squatting with just my thoughts is usually fine. Not this time. Also, I forgot how much of a violent cracking noise my knees make when I squat, but... So it wouldn't be unlike me or my preparation that the mic would die as I'm recording that clip. So I'm here now, way into the future, where I'm actually editing the said YouTube video, which is kind of funny. It's like a YouTubeception or something. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, you can see right here, I don't know, right there somewhere. See that? I got it. I got the squat. It looked pretty good. My knees also made a violent crunching noise, but that seems unavoidable, and it's only up until I started recording those clips and hearing the sound back that I realized my knees sound awful. But there's no pain, so it's all good. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video, hopefully you got some value with the squat tutorial and enjoyed watching me struggle through some heavy squats nice and early in the morning. So yeah. If there's anything you want to see next, I have a video coming very soon once again. But yeah, if there's anything you want to see in the future, let me know in the comments or DM me on my socials. If you're interested in coaching, all relevant links are below. But until the next one, I will see you all a little later.